Welcome to Dysfunctionally Yours, the podcast where we embrace the chaos, laugh through the struggles, and find hope on the other side of trauma. I'm your host, Brittany, and if you've ever felt like your life was a beautifully messy roller coaster of dysfunction, trust me, you're in good company. Here, we'll have real, raw, and sometimes ridiculous conversations about mental health, relationships, and healing, because let's be honest, life isn't always pretty, but that doesn't mean we can't come out of it stronger and maybe even smiling. So grab a cup of coffee or a glass of bubbles, and let's navigate this wild journey together, dysfunctionally, but never alone.
Welcome back, friends. I'm Brittany. How are you? Happy fall. Fall is my absolute favorite, and I've lived around and experienced fall in many different areas, and I will say that fall across the board is always my favorite. I will also say that not every place I've lived experiences a real fall. Being from Denver, I know what a real fall is. Denver has fall. 100%. It is a whole season. Being on the East Coast, and in the South, no, that's not really a fall. Summer is eternity, and then it just sort of shifts, and it doesn't really have this beautiful little gradual moment, and then it's just different. And different being, I don't know. Like in Florida, it's just scorching or also still hot, right? Like I used to really enjoy going down there. Like the Disney Marathon is down in Orlando in January, and it's a beautiful time to go down there if you're going from someplace that is it's in the thick of their cold, like, I don't know, Michigan. And you're like, it has been cold for a long time. It has been snowy for a long time. And you just want this nice little 78-degree day. So it feels mild. The humidity is not bad at that time. So it's quite lovely. But as far as a winter goes, that's also not a winter. Nonetheless, I am in Denver. It is fall. Fall is in the air. I love it. This morning I woke up and had my cup of coffee by the fireplace. I don't have the heat or the AC or anything on right now because there's no need, but I did wake up and it was 62 degrees in my house, which isn't terrible, right? Put on some sweats, it's fine. But I was like, I can have my coffee. So I turn the fireplace on, have my coffee and turn the fireplace back off and carry on about my day. No biggie. It was lovely. It was lovely. And I love fall for that reason right there. All right. So aside from fall, I could probably talk about fall forever. I won't, because people will be like, okay, are you the meteorologist now, Brittany? No, I'm not. Anyways, I was scrolling through the Tickies of Talks, as we do, and I watched a video about Thresher sharks. I love sharks. Sharks are just so intriguing and beautiful and wonderful, and I just love sharks. I don't know a ton about a Thresher shark, so keep that in mind as I'm listening to this TikTok. The guy is talking about Thresher sharks, about how they're not really lethal to humans, but once upon a time, a Thresher shark they have these massive tails. Their tails are probably the most terrifying part about them. So anyways, he goes on to tell the world, whatever, that a Thresher shark's tail once upon a time decapitated a human, that they have that much power in their tail that it decapitated a human being. I'm like, intrigued, maybe, yes. So I go and I research Thresher sharks. First and foremost, That didn't happen. No human has ever been decapitated by a thresher shark. In fact, there is not one report of a thresher shark killing a human being at all. So there is that. Like, if you would like to go get a pet thresher shark, they are safe. What I will say is their tail is like the half the size of their entire body. They have this massive tail, and it is designed to whip back and forth. I whip my tail back and forth. I whip my tail back and forth. They whip their tail back and forth, and they whip it so fast, roughly 44 miles per hour, actually. They whip it so fast that the bubbles and the ripples that creates in the water is enough to actually stun entire schools of sardines. And then the shark can go eat all of their food, and they no longer have to chase down their food. That is cool. Do I want to be hit by this? No, I don't. But did it take off a human head? That is false information. So now you know. And that's cool. Like, that was just the cool animal thing that I came upon this week. And so I figured it was my duty to share, so you were not out here thinking that thresher sharks' tails were decapitating human beings. That is false. Also, this is gonna be a shock to you. I know it is. I have a farm of animals here, right? Between my dog and the 3 cats, there is a lot of animal here. There's a lot of hair here. I have a lot of hair. They all have a lot of hair, right? Sweetie is a long-haired dog, and then cats are just cats, and they have a lot of hair. So I have probably every single possible device to collect pet hair known to man. The amount of money that I have spent, and like the lint rollers and all of the things. I have spent so much money. And now I have I wish I would have bought this when I first heard about them instead of trying other options. I got a chom chom. This is a chom chom. This is a chom chom. It just collects all the hair in here. Look, that was from my office chair. I have a chom chom. That thing is the greatest thing on the planet. It is single-handedly saving my house and my furniture one swipe at a time. It is incredible. If you have animals and you are like, God, the hair, get one. I think it's like $24. I wish I would have bought this so long ago because it is the greatest thing ever. So go buy one. Go buy 2 for that matter. It will, you can thank me later. Yeah, it's so great. I even use it on like one of my rugs that has like really low ply, and I just use it on there because I vacuum and I sweep. But we all know that the vacuum cleaner, even as great as they are, can only get up so much hair. I mean, the hair is just there. No, this thing, fantastic. I go over the carpet, the rug really fast with that. Easy peasy. And then vacuum. Perfect. Like easy peasy. No, get one. Get one right away. All right. That is my PSA on pet hair. You're welcome. If we're done with that, we are done with that. Also, because fall is here, I was able to transition over to a red wine. I love red wine. I love when I love when red wine season comes along. Okay. My ache and relief of the week. I wish I had like a little theme song for that. I should talk to somebody about that. I wonder if my best friend will make me one. Okay. Anyways, ache and relief of the week. What's a cool melody? Do 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 do. That's not the cool melody. All right. My ache is, if you all recall, back in July, my baby cat went missing. My baby cat is still missing, but this week I got a notification and a picture from somebody. They're like, "Is this your cat?" And it is this cat looked the closest to any cat I've seen thus far. That this one really could be my cat. And I was going back and forth messaging this lady, and she's like, "I'm going to take the cat to the vet or something to get scanned for microchips, check gender, rough age, et cetera, et cetera." And I'm like, "Okay, please keep me posted." And I was really, really, really optimistic that this was my little baby cat, that she finally resurfaced and that she was going to be able to come home after all this time. And sadly, it's not her. The lady did take the cat to the vet and was able to get all of the information needed. And at the end of the day, this is not my little Kiwi Ann. And that was very, very sad. It was very like a false alarm after getting my hopes up a little bit. So that sucked. That's my ache. Okay. My relief of the week, though, if you follow me on Instagram, you saw I posted a picture, a bathtub picture. Ooh la la. Uh, this bath was the relief of my week. The interesting part about this, I loathe baths, right? They remind me of people soup, like sort of like hot tubs. Why are we just getting in there to sit in our own filth, blah, 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 blah. But when I moved into this house, my bathtub is this huge, lovely bathtub. And I was like, well, I feel like I'd be doing a disservice to this bathtub to not at least try it out. So I take a bath. I get it prepped. I put candles in. There's nice music. I turn the lights off. There's bubbles. There's a bath bomb. A bath bomb, mind you, that I've been holding on to for, like 2.5 years because I don't do baths. I can't tell you the last time I took a bath. The last time I took a bath was probably when I had COVID in December of 2021. That was probably the last bath that I actually took. I don't do baths. Anyways, I took this bath last night. It was glorious. I might be every Saturday night, I might be in the bathtub. I might have a date with my bathtub every single Saturday night. It was so lovely. And I'm like, oh, this is why people like baths. Oh, so clearly I've just been going about it all wrong. Now, mind you, I did get in, take a shower, then run the bath water, then sit there. I did sit there for a long, long time. I've never sat in the bathtub that long in my whole life ever. And then after the bath, I also took another shower. So, I one step at a time. But I didn't want to sit in my filth. And then if there was any residual filth left over, I wanted to wash that off as well. So anyways, my relief was this bath, and it was lovely. Also, I don't know if we're aware, but even cleaning supplies now have started, they got on that like basic pumpkin spice kick, and so even cleaning supplies smell like pumpkin spice now. And so again, with the like as soon as I moved in here, I switched out all of my air freshener and candles and things because that was October, with like pumpkin spice smell and yummy this smell and lots of like maple and brown sugar smell. So it's just like warm and cozy and comfy in my house anyways, the way it smells. And then I found cleaning supplies that were pumpkin spice smell as well. So whenever I disinfect my bathroom and mop my floors, I get to use this pumpkin spice smelling stuff to clean my house. And oh my fucking God, so great. So great. I love it. So, we're going to keep using that. Yeah. Okay. All right. I posted along with the bathtub, right? I posted it onto IG and I asked everybody like what they're doing for self-care right now. And I did get some responses, and a lot of people are saying we go outside, see something new, bed rotting. Like, let's not underestimate the power of a good bed rot, 100%. So I'm here for it. Watching a movie, relaxing, a glass of wine. And my friend who has 3 kiddos, she wrote in as well, and she said, hiding in a closet eating a cookie without being interrupted. And I laughed hard because I get that. I get that. I remember those days. So bless her heart. I hope she gets 2 closet cookie moments this week. I hope she gets 2. Okay, let's get into this. So this week, I heard somebody talking about how like they didn't want to be a statistic, right? They wanted to get through life and they were geared up in a position that they were just going to be a statistic. Like from the projects and never going to get out, and dad is like a legit certified gangbanger, and that's very scary. But like this kid wants to go to school, wants to go to school, wants to not be in the gang, wants to not be in this lifestyle, wants to get out, go to college, do good things, and was just like, I don't want to be a statistic. And so that sat with me for, the remainder of the week, and really like it planted like this little seed in my brain. Because I got to thinking about that statement, like, I don't want to be a statistic. And I got to thinking, and I'm like, too late. Too late for me, right? I already am. I've been a statistic my whole fucking life. I've been a statistic. With being in foster care, with being a child of addicts and alcoholics. I had a baby at 17 years old. I've been divorced twice, being a single mom, having this broken home. Like there's just so many different boxes that I could check that it's like, oh, she's not going to make it. She's not going to last. But I did. But I did. And I'm not saying that that was easy or pretty. What I am saying, though, is that being a statistic did not equal failure. And I think that's a great thing, right? It's just one of those things that, like, the odds, may the odds be ever in your favor. The odds were not in my favor, but the odds also, they just didn't see me coming. They did not see this one coming at all. I think society as a whole loves to label, like give people labels. Teen mom, broken home, child of addicts, divorced. And I'm not even going to touch on the mental health component here whenever you start adding in diagnoses like depression and PTSD and various other, even more, not that anything, like various other mental health diagnoses. So we're not even going to add those in there on what people say about all of that. But everybody comes up with an assumption of what you're going to do and what your life is going to be like when these types of things happen. I know that when I got pregnant at 17, people looked at me like I just ruined my entire future and like my story was over and that was that. And that it was like, oh, her mom was right about her. First of all, literally never. Literally never. But like, I think the truth was me having my son at 17 years old was in fact not my story being over at all. It was just the prologue of what was about to come. Like what was the very, very, very beginning. But people are so quick to judge and so quick to label But the reality of that is all of the things that they didn't see or that they don't see. They're not seeing the fight that it takes to rise above that. They're not seeing like the sleepless nights, the self-doubt, the fear that goes into all of those things, right? Like the person that this label is being put on is the one absorbing all of that. It's so quick to slap a label on somebody and then not really understand what's on the other side of that. At 17 years old, it's not like I was jumping up and down for joy. It's not like I was like, yes. I wasn't the girl that was on Dr. Phil or Maury Povich being like, I'm 14 and I want to have a baby so that I can keep this man and I deserve to have somebody that loves me. Literally, no, not ever. That was actually, in fact, not at all what was going on. Um, and so it was very, very scary. And truth be told, there was not a lot of support. Now, I will say I had a very different circumstance, but whenever I first got pregnant and told my parents, my mom made me file for Medicaid for the baby. Fun fact, at 17 years old, when you live in your mom and dad's house, you can't file for Medicaid. I did not know this at the time. So I'm over here jumping through hoops trying to file for Medicaid. They want me to fill out all this paperwork and put my dad's income on there. My mom won't give me my dad's income because that doesn't have anything to do with it. But at 17 years old, when they're claiming me as a dependent, they cannot, like, they're just denying me insurance at this point. So, like, that was not awesome. Fortunately, my kiddo's dad was military, and so there was a different, like, that is a very fortunate, just thing that happened. That was not, that's not everybody's story or anything like that. And that is a little like 4-leaf clover that I got right there, that it was just very helpful that way. But otherwise, I have a family whose house I live in that is also denying me insurance, saying they're not going to put me on my dad's insurance and they're actually not going to help me get my own insurance. What? You know what? Are we surprised? We're literally not. Anyways, that's scary. I'm in high school. That's scary. Having to go to school and face people. That's scary. And really not knowing. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I don't want to live in my mom's house. How on earth? How on earth am I supposed to like have a baby? Like this, I don't want to live in the rattlesnake's house. How on earth am I supposed to bring this kid into that? Like that? No, what? No, it's scary. So it's scary from the start, right? So back to like how these thoughts all started in my head. You think that kiddo who's growing up in the circumstances that they're growing up in is not also terrified? Terrified of their surroundings, terrified of what that means for them to go against everything they've ever known, terrified of what that means to want to do something different, to have those types of conversations with family who's not really, there's a code there. That code is being broken. Like, that's just, these things are scary. So these are the things that aren't thought about, that aren't considered, like that people don't see. And to step on the other side of that, that takes a lot of grit. That takes a lot of grit. They never see the drive that comes from knowing that you have to be the one to break a pattern, that the one who has to uh like make a different choice, and the one that at this point has to refuse to hand down that same level of pain to another generation or to continue to navigate that life. Like that is that becomes a choice that now you're having to make. And that's not an easy choice to make, especially as a child. I came from a lot of dysfunction, obviously. I talk about it all the time. I came from addiction. I came from a lot of pain, physical, mental, emotional, psychological, all of the different types. And I decided every step of the way that that was not going to be my legacy. Like, even when my parents were going through rehab, Like, I decided at that early age, I was still really young. I was like, "Oh, that never. That is not gonna be me. That is not gonna be me. That is not gonna be me." I am making this choice to this day that that is not gonna be me regarding, like, drugs and alcohol and things like that, and to be fair, I didn't drink until I was 24. Because I did not know, as I've talked about in previous episodes, I didn't really realize that you could be responsible. I never saw that. So, I make these choices that I'm not gonna do that. And because it's my choice and nobody's telling me, "Brittany, don't do this," it's my choice to not do this, there's a little bit of power in that. Like, I'm not gonna let myself down. But I did. I decided these things were not gonna be my legacy that I'm handing down. I wanted my legacy that I was gonna start handing down God, especially when I had kids and started going through even more things, watching them grow up and absorb everything like little sponges. Like, I really wanted my legacy to be of healing and self-awareness and growth, and that was really important, even if I had to learn all of that the hard way. I had to learn to break cycles. Like, you don't just know how to break a cycle. It's not like you wake up one day and you're like, "Well, I'm gonna break that." You have to learn, and it's not just about breaking the obvious cycles, the addiction or the dysfunction, but it's about also breaking the emotional cycles as well, learning what love actually is, learning that peace isn't boring, it's healing, like we've talked about, learning that it's okay to have boundaries and not apologize for them, and also not weaponize them either, right? So while people are so busy noticing that statistic that you're falling into, they don't really consider the other side of that, that the odds aren't really accounting for the therapy or the growth or the sheer fucking stubborn, fiery strength that a human being has to have, and the lessons in my situation that my own kids taught me, right? Like, I had my son when I was 17 years old. I was still a baby for all intents and purposes in my own parents' home. And that is the information that I'm getting in on this side. And so then to have these little people start to come around, you really do learn a lot from your children about how you show up. I know after we had gotten separated and after I had gotten out of the hospital, I was in Virginia. My children were with their father out of state still. And I wanted nothing but for my babies to be back with me. I missed them so, so badly. And was really, like I've talked about before, trying to process all of this. Like, how can I be a mom without this man? How can I take care? Like, what purpose do I have? So I'm like trying to navigate a lot of things all at one time. Sort of like floodgates are open and I'm having to process a ton of stuff. I was walking through Target and a lady is screaming at her child in the shopping cart. And then I see them again, like in the checkout line, and now she's talking to him in the most condescending, disgusting tone of voice. And I'm just watching like this, like person observing this, like fly on the wall, so to speak, right? I'm just observing it. And I'm very self-aware. I've always been very self-aware. And so I'm observing it and I'm like, do I talk to my kids like this? Do I talk to my children like this when I get frustrated? Do I talk to them like this whenever things aren't going my way in life and I'm just taking it out on them as if they asked to be here? They did not. Um, and so observing things from the outside like that, right? It's not something that I'm observing the rattlesnake doing. It's not something that I'm noticing myself in the moment doing. It is something that I am observing out in the big bad world that I'm like, yuck, that is gross. That, I don't like that. And so really starting to notice like the lessons that the world is teaching me about like, be better. Be better. you don't always have to trip and stumble over your own feet to learn a lesson. Sometimes you can just sit and watch. You can watch the people in the food court, the people at the airport. You can, they talk about whenever you're dating how like, oh, let's see how the person we're going out on a first date with treats the wait staff, and that'll tell you a lot of things, right? So we as adults, I mean, kids do too, but we as adults that have this infinite amount of world that we're able to take in, like, let's take it in. Let's really be paying attention to like what lessons we can learn. And so that was very much just lessons that really started to be learned along the way. You start with this idea, I don't want to do that. I'm going to break this cycle. And then you have to be open and receptive to every lesson along the way to say, this is how you be better. So I think that can be really tricky. I've talked about my youngest, he's an introvert. I am not. I've learned a lot from Caden about how to navigate this world and other people and how certain people process certain feelings and emotions in a way that I never would have learned that before. So there have been numerous lessons that I've learned from my own children. So not just through the therapy, right? And I have been through a ton of it, and not just through like personal growth, but some of this personal growth has been from lessons learned along the way in a lot of different places. But again, those statistics aren't taking into account the reality of everything else that can possibly be poured into it and what we as individual human beings choose, it's a choice, choose to do with that information. Does that make sense? It is interesting because people say don't let your past define you. It's also these same people that are saying don't let your past define you that look at you and they're like, oh, now you're just a statistic. Oh, you fell right into that stereotype. They're so quick to turn on you and flip that switch that way that they do that. But they do say don't let your past define you, and you are not your past. And I think on the one hand, I do believe that you are not your past and you don't need to let it define you. But my past has shaped me. It shaped me a lot, but it certainly didn't limit me, right? So it wasn't like, oh, this is all I'm ever going to be, because that would be a limit. It's like, this is my circumstances today, and I have choices to make to come out on the other side of that. And we're not going to limit ourselves to this standard, to this belief of other people, to outside people, to the community around us. They don't get to say that. They didn't get me in this situation. They're not going to be the ones that get me out. Right? I think every hard thing that's happened, every mistake, every heartbreak, every moment that I thought I would like not survive, it built me, because I did survive, and it just built me to be stronger, and it built me to be more resilient. It built me to change my way of thinking each and every time, because I'm not one to make the same mistake more than once. I'm really just not. I don't like that. I'm going to keep fucking up, but I hope I keep fucking up in a different way. That's my goal, right? To not make the same mistake over and over and over again. And I know that that's hard. I know it's hard when society puts a label on you and feels like, and so openly says what they think. And it's not always made so easy, right? It's not like, as a 17-year-old, it's not like every high school has a daycare in it to where they're encouraging you to come back to school and finish your degree, right? Like, that's not how the world works. Some places it does, but not everybody. That's an actual luxury. That is not something that everybody has. And, that can be hard to navigate, growing up in certain areas with certain parents. Like, you're not being set up for success from day one. And so you're kicking and screaming and fighting like hell from the very beginning. And maybe nobody knows that struggle but you. We don't know. We don't know each other's past. We don't know what other people are going home to at the end of the day. So, I feel. So I might be a statistic. I might be. I am. But I'm also proof that that doesn't define you, that data, that those numbers, they don't tell a whole story, right? They don't measure the heart. They don't measure the fight. And they don't measure what happens when somebody decides to rewrite their own narrative. And I think we need to be, as people, very, very careful and very, very mindful that like words matter and people believing in us matters whenever we're sitting here trying to determine and to rewrite our own story. So we have to give other people grace. We have an obligation to understand where other people are coming from and what their battle looks like in order for us to support them the best way possible. That's what I think. That's what I believe. If you have ever been counted out, the teen moms, the broken homes, the too damaged and the too difficult, you've been counted out because of where you live or who raised you. You are not the sum of your circumstances. You are the result of how you choose to rise from them. If you want to be a phoenix, be a fucking phoenix, right? Like, be one. Just, if you want to be able to rise from your ashes, choose that. It's not even a real fucking bird. So, you know what? You get to choose to be one if you want to be one. I have one tattooed on my arm because, like, I'm just going to keep rising above. I'm always going to rise above. You know, I said it when I said it that morning to the victim's advocate trauma lady that arrived on scene whenever I found my brother. I said to her, and it wasn't right away, right? It was after hours and hours had gone by. I don't know. It felt like an eternity. I genuinely have no idea. But I remember saying to her at some point, I was like, because she had asked, you know, what kind of job I do and that I must work in trauma because I'm handling this very well, all things considered. And I remember looking at her at one point and being like, my whole life prepared me for this right here. My whole life prepared me to be able to step into this situation and to handle it responsibly and know that I will come out on the other side of this no matter what. My whole life prepared me for that moment, whether that was my childhood or my having my own kids or the degree that I have, all of it combined from day one, all of it combined, my own struggle with mental health, right? All of it combined prepared me to be able to navigate that situation and what was about to come from that moment on. I had the tools because my entire life had prepared me for those tools. And so it's one of those things, like, we might be statistics, but if we are choosing to rise above, to come out on the other side of that, we are giving ourselves a bunch of tools and things to work with that are going to help us from that day forward, no matter what. It's a work in progress. We're all works in progress. But again, we have that choice. I don't care what anybody said that you would become. You can break it. You can break that data. You can be an anomaly. You don't have to be what somebody else says you're going to be or what somebody else says you're going to become. You don't have to be that. You can take every "you won't make it" and change that into a whole ass success story. So yeah, I am a statistic, but I'm also the exception. I think if there's anything that you take away from this episode, let it be that you are not your circumstances. You are your choices, your efforts, your healing, your growth. And don't let the world reduce you to a number when you've worked this hard to be a whole ass human. And if being a statistic means surviving that kind of chaos that taught me to love harder and live louder and heal deeper, then fine. Then fine, I'll take it. I will take that. Because being dysfunctional just means that I had to work a little bit harder to become whole. And I did. And I am. And I continue to choose to do so every single day. Dysfunctionally yours, always. New episodes come out every single Monday. You can like, follow, and subscribe. Follow along on Instagram and TikTok at Dysfunctionally Yours Podcast. And until next week, don't be afraid to be great. Toodles, poodles. Bye.